Hey everyone, welcome to Rebel Roundup, your daily news and opinion show. I'm your host today, Tamara Ugolini, and I'm joined by our Saskatchewan correspondent, my friend and colleague, Lise Merle, as I mentioned, in Saskatchewan. How are you doing over there, Lise, coming off of a few day, I was going to say bender, but I won't,
Pilgrimage.
I won't,
We were
yes.
on a pilgrimage to a rodeo, me and Sheila Gunn Reid. We survived, but just almost had to build an ark in central Alberta over this last week. It did nothing but rain, but it was a wonderful time. Thanks so much for asking.
Good. Well, thanks so much for being back and being ready to host, even though you're still getting probably used to being back and having
Oh,
responsibilities
we're
and
good.
time frames and things to stand by. So, welcome everyone. Today is Tuesday, June 30th. Absolutely wild to think that tomorrow's Canada's birthday. Tomorrow we'll be putting ourselves in red and celebrating this country that is,
Are
I
you?
think, worth fighting for. I
Are
know
you?
I'm talking to a separatist, so we have to tread lightly here, but you'll build a moat, I guess,
We're
around the
gonna dig a moat.
provinces there as
We're
we
gonna dig
celebrate.
one. Yeah, we're gonna dig a moat. All of the water from the rain will drain into it, and we'll be able to keep the riffraff out of the new country. But truly, I just for the last several years, um, Canada Day has just seemed more and more contrived to me, and I absolutely won't participate in any event that's funded by the federal government for their own birthday. And so, if you look at the local events in your area and it says, funded by Heritage Canada or funded by your local lottery corporation or whatever it is. It's just a no for me this year. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah.
See, here
Won't do
in
it.
Coburg, we have the Waterfront Festival, and this has been like the anchor of my summer since I was a child. We always
Oh,
looked forward to the Waterfront Festival, and this year it's a 5 day event because of the way that Canada Day falls obviously on
sure.
Wednesday. And so it's just something that is very nostalgic for me
Mm.
and has traditionally always been just a fun feel good festival. I mean, we were known as Ontario's feel good town. And now we have people feeling a little too good in some of the parks and playgrounds, some more than others.
Yeah.
That's a story for another day. But anyway, the Waterfront Festival is always a good time here. I do note, though, so far, it seems like it is less attended than previous years. So that's
Mm.
curious. It makes me wonder if people are just hearing that Coburg is not that Ontario feel good town that it has historically been known as, if tourism's just down across the board. I mean, gas prices are insane, cost of living's insane. Can people just not afford life and to travel and to come out to these festivals and events anymore? So I don't know, maybe you can let us know in the comments what you think ahead of Canada Day. Will you
Yeah.
be
What are you guys planning
celebrating?
on doing? Yeah. What are you
Yeah.
guys planning on doing? Let us know in the comments.
And you can do that a few different ways. So if you're joining us on YouTube, you can give us a super chat or even a super thanks if you're joining us after we are done being live. And so through a $5 or more, if you feel so inclined, donation, we will read your comment, tip, or trick live on air. So please use that. And then, of course, if you're on Rumble, which I still love as the free speech platform because they don't censor you based on your politics or your supposed wrong think or wrong speak, you can give us a Rumble rant. So again, same rules apply over there. Just depends on which platform you want to support and join us from. So thanks in advance for your support and let us know about Canada Day. Are you, feeling the Western separatist sentiment, or will you be partaking in any festivities, festivals, fireworks, displays, etc.? Because today we have to talk about Toronto's drug problem and a little expose that our videographer turned journalist, I would say,
Lincoln.
video journalist, Lincoln J, headed out to the mean streets of Hamilton, Ontario. So it's about, I guess, 40 minutes, give or take, west of Toronto. So kind of like they call it the GTHA, Greater Toronto Hamilton area.
Okay.
And so it's kind of encompassing that geographic area now more than maybe 10 years or so ago. But anyway, he went to Hamilton, him and Maurizio, one of our other videographers, and explored the downtown core, which is just increasing, the disarray, the disorder, the crime, the chaos, basically everything that goes with the drug-fueled activity and criminality of the opioid crisis plaguing.
Yeah.
I mean, Hamilton is just a microcosm of the larger issue. And you can look no further than downtown East Side in Vancouver, British Columbia, of how harm reduction and the so-called safe supply ideologies have where that's brought people on the streets in these cities centers and now trickling out to smaller towns across the country. It's obviously a massive failed experiment because
Yeah.
the idea of harm reduction is oxymoronic in that it's not reducing any harm. In fact, it's just proliferating the chaos and the
Yes,
disorder
compounding it. Yes.
onto communities in the vicinity of the so-called harm reducing efforts. And so
Mhm.
you see that repeatedly across the country. And I think Lincoln did a really great job of kind of just honing in, narrowing in on the problem and speaking to people on the ground. I mean, that's
Oh,
what
it was
Rebel News does
brilliant.
best.
It was brilliant. If you haven't seen his piece yet, it's live on YouTube right now. I just finished it, watching it, coming into the show today. And it is incredible I mean, look at this. This is a zombie wasteland. Look at this, you guys. It's a zombie wasteland, is what he captured here. And then he talked to regular people and said, what do you think is causing this? Well, it's and one of the guys that he interviews does such a good job in saying this is a business. These are
Mhm.
all people who are profiting from these people's misery, abject misery, living in addiction, living with violence, living with sexual violence, being homeless. He did an incredible job of this piece, and I think that it's really reflective of every downtown district or urban district in the country that has harm reduction efforts underway. He does a great job in digging into who's responsible, the mayor and the councillors that are doing this, but it also just shows that really beautiful areas. Like, look at this place. It's a beautiful residential area. Look at historical buildings are being taken over and degraded by these practices in the communities in which they serve. By the way, all of the neighboring businesses suffer because of this. All of them suffer because of this. And the one point in the piece that I thought was really notable was one of the business owners said, here this church throws open its doors 6 days a week to these people, to a certain number of these drug addicted homeless people. The rest of them just mill around outside all day and all night long. And then the church closes on Sundays. He goes, why would that be? Why would that be? It was a beautiful piece, Lincoln J. I'm just really proud of him in this piece because it is so exposing as to what's going on in the country.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, sadly, it really starts at the top. And I showed in, I think this is about 2 years ago now, the Liberals were the ones that implemented the Canadian
Yeah.
Substances Drug Use Strategy. And they've contributed over $1
Look at this.
billion to this strategy since 2017. And then that has just had this trickle down effect onto the provinces. And then all of this chaos and disorder is then further downloaded onto
Yeah.
these municipalities that don't actually have budgets to deliver social services. And so
Yeah.
you're right, Lisa. If this is big business for a lot of these advocates and people involved in
Of course it is.
so-called harm reduction, safe supply, especially safe supply, because as Lincoln shows in that report, and as even the mainstream media can no longer ignore, the morphine adjacent safe supply drug called dilaudid or opioid adjacent heroin, etc.
Hmm.
They're called dilaudid, and so those dillies, as they call them on the street, end up being sold and
Yep.
diverted into the black market, and then
Immediately.
these addicts don't want the dillies; they want the fentanyl or the meth or the crack cocaine or what have you. And
Their
so
drug of
this,
choice. Their drug of choice. And it's
yeah,
never a dilly. It's never a dilly. Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's
then
exactly what's happening.
and so the ripple effect of all of this is really massive, and I would
Oh,
say
this was
starts
so
at the
sad.
top.
This part was just so sad. And God bless Lincoln J for um for connecting on a human level with other humans, he asks her if she would be willing to go get help. Would you be willing to go get help if we were to get you off the street, get you housed, get you sheltered, get you fed, hopefully, try and get you off drugs. Would you want to go? And she just said, no, no, because people that are in active addiction only live to feed the addiction. We all know this. We've all seen this before. But God bless him for caring enough to hear their stories. Honestly, that's a crux of what he did there. And no harm comes from having conversations. And he did a really good job on that piece. Yeah, a really compassionate job on that piece. Also, talk to some candidates running in the area and ask them what they would do different. The people on the street have, they have smart and clear ideas. Stop giving them the drugs. Stop feeding their addictions. Stop enabling this kind of behavior. And the people in charge just aren't listening, because you know why? This doesn't affect them. This doesn't
Well,
affect them. This is so far below their ivory tower that their decisions, they absolve themselves of their bad decisions by just turning a blind eye to it. And I think it's really important that people like Lincoln Jay go out and actually get the real story. So congrats to him. I'm going to nominate him for a Rebbe for this one.
that's it.
Okay.
There you
Yeah.
go. That's
Yeah.
the thing. And it really is what's being coined the homeless industrial complex,
It
where
really is.
there is big bucks to be made. For instance, here in Northumberland County, which again is the same as Hamilton, the same as any city center, any other municipality, the province doubled the funding here in Northumberland County in 2023 to something like $6 million annually. And in that same year, guess who got all 20% raises? The director of homelessness, the manager of social services, all the people responsible for supposed to be ending homelessness.
Right.
And yet homelessness, and by way of drug addiction, have only gotten worse. So all
Yeah.
the bureaucrats are still getting paid. They're getting raises from this funding. And while the problem continues to get
Oh,
worse and
and that
grow
doesn't
and grow.
that's true, and that doesn't even touch the levels of corruption that are allowed to operate in these industries, these ones that pop up to help. The elected officials working with the property developers working with the construction companies, the construction, like it goes on and on and on, and that nobody ever gets housed. That nobody ever gets housed should be an indication that the program isn't working, and we should cut off the funding taps. But that's not the way of our world right now. It's just not. Opportunists see a way to profit off of the suffering of others. Really, the abject, horrible, terrible, miserable suffering of others. And as long as voters keep saying, "Well, this is okay with me. Like I'll just tolerate for this for a little while longer," it's just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah, it's being sold to the public as compassion and noble and meeting people where they're at. But really, this is just enablement. Like, let's just
Of
boil it
course,
down. Let's cut through the flowery language and let's just call it what it is. And that's
yeah.
enablement when these people, need to have their mental health issues treated. They need to perhaps be institutionalized. I mean, there's a whole other argument there, oh, that's not compassionate, and there's human rights repercussions for institutionalization, et cetera. And sure, that's warranted, there's merit to that. However, if somebody is a danger to themselves and they're left to just have free for all on the streets, well, they become not only a danger to themselves, but now they're also a danger to others, and they're a danger to the community. I mean,
Oh,
countless times
in
I have
in
seen
Lincoln
people.
Jay's you're right. In Lincoln Jay's report, he talks to somebody who watched another person get stabbed, just like right on the
Mhm.
street. Because of course, where drug addiction is active, you're going to have property crimes, you're going to have physical crimes, you're going to have sexual crimes. All of those things are compounded by the need to feed the active addiction. And so long as we're keeping people in active addiction, none of these problems are ever going to be solved. Actually, in places like Saskatchewan and Alberta, where concerned friends and family members and loved ones can refer a person on for treatment. It is the compassionate thing to do to get people out of active addiction, because somebody in active addiction cannot have a successful life. They don't make good decisions, and they only serve the addiction. So more of our butterfly net, I think, for Ontario, for sure, for Hamilton today, please.
Yes. Yeah, and meanwhile, the government has just been flooding the streets with record immigration numbers the last few years and ignoring the Canadians already on the streets who, arguably need help and support
Well,
more so than just opening the floodgates and saying, oh, come to Canada, we're the land of prosperity and opportunity. And then you get here and realize there's no housing. The schools are, I mean, failing, but also completely overwhelmed, as
yeah.
is the medical system.
Yeah.
And you're just going to probably be exploited working a managerial job at your local Tim Hortons
Well,
because there's no other job or economic
it,
opportunities.
ask a new immigrant what they say about Canadians back in their home country. Like, they come here and see this. They come here and see this and live it. What do they say about Canada? Full of barbarians that kill their old people. Full of barbarians that kill their babies in the womb. Barbarians who leave the most marginalized, vulnerable people on the street to rot in real time. That's what people from other countries think about us, because that's what we've shown them we do.
And for some
It's
reason,
sad.
people are still listening to disgraced former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who was speaking at
Ugh.
some sort of
Finland. In
fireside
Finland.
chat in Finland about immigration. And he says that successful immigration depends on shared values, not ancestry. And so he says here that the capacity to integrate newcomers into society is key. Yeah, as his government, like I've said before, and I will say it again, dwarfed historical immigration averages and just opened the floodgates to a record number of undocumented, uneligible, free for all
Yeah.
levels of immigration into this country from 2020 onward. I mean, still the
Yeah.
floodgates are really not closed, not where they should or would normally historically be.
Yeah.
Now we have this housing shortage. We have overcrowded and completely dwindling healthcare system. The crime, this kind of street disorder, the decay and disarray,
And division. And
that's
division.
proliferating.
Sure. And division, because ancestry blind policies sound nice, right? Like, it sounds nice. Everybody's, we're going to create a utopia. Everybody's going to live together. It's going to be great. Until you start importing societies that run parallel to us, in that we are not the same. Okay. And this is where the division comes in, where actual Canadians are asserting that we do things a certain way, and new Canadians are getting told by the idiot prime minister in Finland that it's fine to come with whatever baggage you have. Canadians are just going to have to be open to it. I reject this outright. And you know what? I don't want to start a war with Finland, but could we stop giving this idiot a microphone on international stages to keep lecturing the world about his failed ideas? Like,
Right.
what are we? The only place, honestly, the only place I ever want to see Justin Trudeau is in handcuffs. It's the only appropriate place I want to see him. Otherwise, I don't care about his luxury speaking tour circuit. I don't care about his pop star tart girlfriend. I don't care about his ex-wife or any of his children or what they're doing. Handcuffs is the only place I want to see him. Be damned what he said in Finland. I don't care.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any actual clips of this in his speech and just his breathless way
I don't
that he
want.
speaks.
Let's not make us sick. Let's not watch it, Olivia. If we have it, I don't want to see it. Nobody here
Don't
wants
show
to see it, right,
clips.
guys? Yeah.
Don't show clips.
No.
I'm just curious.
No, but it's hilarious that he's still, like, absolving himself from ruining the actual country. Like, he has
And
no idea that
immigration
this is what he did.
standards that we once held, was a Canadian value, was something
Yep.
that looked good on the world stage. And now under his government, that's all gone,
It's
fell
embarrassing.
completely to the wayside. And the fact that he has the audacity to stand up in front of any sort of audience, whether it's a well-attended event or, a couple hundred people in Finland, arguably that's more than should be there anyway. But the audacity of this guy to get up there and try to
Yes.
lecture people on how to responsibly immigrate people
Yes.
into a country is just so incredibly tone deaf and rich. Like I just can't even believe that he has the gall to do this.
Yeah, he should prove how good he is at it by immigrating to outer Mongolia. Or, some of the further reaches of the Siberian steppe. Yeah, there's, again, the only place I ever want to see that guy is in handcuffs.
Yeah, or a most wanted sign.
Mhm.
Politicians Never Lie gives us $5.03. Thank you very much. Great
Ooh.
show and beautiful hosts. Well, thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Um, Lisa's recovering. We're giving her grace today. There is a clip here, but we won't play it, of Trudeau. I just,
That's
oh, the way that he speaks, I can't. So
We don't wanna make
speaking,
everybody gag. Like, we don't wanna have a collective gag here. No, no, let's not watch Trudeau. Sorry.
yeah,
Let's not.
no, just he needs to just go away. Just go crawl up into a hole and just don't resurface is what I
Mhm,
would like for to happen there. This
mhm.
nonsense that we're still giving him airtime, and he's even arguably being paid to speak about this stuff is absolutely absurd. Why the media is still paying it any attention? Just make this guy go away, please. Him and his weird son, just go away.
Yes,
Um,
agreed.
and, as we're talking about immigration, and Mark Carney is now trying to pretend like they're reining it in, or they're, restoring any form of responsible governance when it comes to immigration levels in this country. We have this piece from Blacklocks where actually that's not entirely true. So the Department of Immigration, who's
Alina.
overseen by Minister Lena Diab, that just can't even get through committee without looking like she's having a seizure. Um, they keep saying that, like, oh, we're committed to delivering results and we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and just wait and you'll see. But there's nothing to see yet. And so this particular memo, that is the source of this article here, is about the costly shelter program for illegal immigrants and refugee claimants, many of which we know if they were denied or deemed ineligible, they can still stay here. They still get all of the suite of health benefits, free accommodation, living expenses, food, meals, etc., clothing expenses.
Wild.
So this is absolutely insane. So this comes out of the hotel program that was implemented throughout the pandemic, and it was supposed to be phased out in from 2024 onward. But in fact, what these records show is that I'm just trying to find the actual quote. It was like a billion. Um, yeah, so since 2017, the government has spent 1.76 billion with a B dollars to help address housing needs of asylum claimants. That was supposed to be phased out, but in fact, the budget shows that shelter subsidies were extended by another 1.1 billion until
Oh.
2027.
I suppose for all of us that were holding our breath, there were going to be some full jets going in the other direction, full of people that shouldn't be here.
Right.
Can breathe easy knowing that they're here for a little while longer.
No, in fact, you're still paying over $1 billion until next year to house people who, the most of which are likely ineligible to be here in the first place,
Yeah.
and perhaps due for deportation. But we don't deport anyone in this country because I guess diversity is our strength. And
And
then,
here I thought we had borders for a reason. Like here I thought we had borders and they were supposed to serve a purpose, but no. Mm-mm.
no,
Open
and
door
that's
policy, red carpet policy. Here's your tens of thousands of dollars a year per person to come and I mean, it's so unfair to the Canadian taxpayer. It is just so unfair.
so this is purely anecdotal, but my husband was in the market for a new car recently.
Mm.
And so he went out and he was shopping around and he was talking to dealerships and so on and so forth. And I guess at one dealership, they're like, well, how long have you lived in Canada? And he's like, what do you mean? Like, my whole life I've lived here in Canada. And they're like, oh, well, if you were a new Canadian, you would be eligible for a new car subsidy. And so you would get a subsidized amount or a grant awarded to you to purchase a new vehicle if you are a new Canadian. And he's like, well, I'm just a regular Canadian and I've lived here my whole life. I've worked here my whole life. I've paid taxes my entire working life. Is there no subsidy for me? Nope.
Probably no.
Only if you're a new Canadian.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that, you know
So,
what? We might have to explore that later, like that concept later, because it would align with what I see in my own neighborhood. Like
yes,
my very own neighborhood, where people will arrive from a different country and within 4 days have a brand new vehicle. A
electric
brand
probably.
new vehicle. Yeah. And so I wonder if that's, well, something we'll have to look into, Tamara Ugolini.
Yeah, there
That's
we go.
real
There
interesting
are so
because
many things.
wouldn't that be a way of artificially inflating Canada's auto sector?
Hmm.
Oh, we got all these cars. They're pre-sold. Look, look, look. They're pre-sold. We got a grant here for the new guys, and they're going to take them off the lots for us. So just produce, produce. It's like jobs numbers. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but jobs numbers. You know, the government is hiring at an unprecedented rate, and that's to keep those unemployment numbers looking like they're not in the toilet, which is where they should be considering our economy. It's all just smoke and mirrors that they're creating, all of it.
And all you old Canadians, never mind you, just pay your own way and still pay all the taxes to pay this new guy's way, and
Yeah.
then wonder why the country is
Oh,
failing.
yeah, and if you get sick, you can made yourself because again, this other guy is here to take your place.
Well, and you
Oh,
can't save to purchase a new car outright because you're taxed like 60% of your total income by the time you factor in all the various
correct.
levels of government and bureaucracy that you pay into through taxation just endlessly, to pay for the new Canadians subsidy for their new car, but you can't save to buy your own new car because 60% of your income goes to over there.
You know,
It's
I can't wait for
backwards.
I can't wait for 3 years from now to buy my kids secondhand vehicles that have been bagged for years
But
for years by new Canadians. It's awesome, you know, the
the
Canadian
ones,
kids.
the asylum seekers who, when our government, when and if they actually recognize, like, hey, maybe we should start deporting these criminals that are here in our country illegally, and then, well, at least your kids will be old enough to have their first car and they can hopefully inherit the fruits of our inadvertently hard labor.
Used to be an Uber.
Yeah, here,
Skip
here,
the dishes.
take your old skip the dishes vehicle. It's got a couple hundred kilometers on it, but that's okay. It's mostly driveway
It
or
smells like
highway
yeah,
driven.
yeah, smells like samosas.
All
Enjoy.
right.
Yeah.
Speaking of the failures of the federal border agency, so an Ontario judge has called it out. This also comes from Blacklocks. An Ontario judge describes the Canada Border Services Agency as ineffectual in rounding up foreign fugitives. Surprise, surprise. This comes after a case of an illegal immigrant repeatedly was arrested, jailed, released, and then rearrested for theft despite a 2022 federal warrant for deportation. So this comes from Justice Michael Wendell of Hamilton, Ontario. And he says he ultimately has no confidence that the CBSA can actually deport or will actually deport people, especially as the agency lost track of, I mean, I would say this is a very conservative number, but the agency lost track of 32,000 foreign fugitives by official estimate. And
How can we let that many fugitives in the door to begin with, number A? I think that, like, that would be the first question on the immigration form if I was running my own country. "Hey, you bad guy from somewhere else? Then you can't come in. Why are we letting fugitives in?" But
mhm,
what is the plan to make them leave, Government of Canada? Because all
exactly.
Canadians are saying to you at the same time, right, "This is unsustainable. The amount of people you brought in under the radar while you were keeping the rest of us locked up, okay, locked up in our own houses. This happened without our consent, and we don't want this kind of country. This is not what we were supposed to inherit is a third world country. And yet that's exactly what our government is doing, is delivering us a third world country experience.
Yeah, well, and this guy, I mean, as this judge points out, he has been on a deportation order for 4 years. And he just, in this time, keeps getting rearrested. And so records show Manjeet Singh, 30, a foreign student at an unnamed community college. I mean, come on, name it, name the college.
Name
Had
them.
a criminal record dating back from 2021 and was jailed 3 and 4 months at a time. He was released under probation orders, yet never deported. He pled guilty to stealing $3,268 worth of Johnny Walker, Crown Royal, and vodka from 2 Hamilton liquor stores in 2025. So again, that's while he's on a deportation order. He's stealing vodka from the LCBO.
That's a lot of vodka. Like, that is a lot of vodka. Something tells me he's not just drinking it himself, you know?
Right. Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah. Are you taking that and then using it at a restaurant and reselling it for an even higher price, these stolen goods? That's kind of the allegation that I've heard recently, is that people who are stealing from the LCBO may actually be further profiting from, you know, it's not just for their personal consumption.
Sure.
Anyway, so you have an Ontario justice calling out the CBSA's inability to deport these individuals, and in fact, they just keep coming into the justice system repeatedly, rearrested, still not deported, rearrested. I mean, the fact, I'm trying to find the exact quote that he said. This is the one I wanted. Mr. Singh is clearly traveling throughout the province and targeting certain retailers, wrote Justice Wendell. The impact of thefts from the LCBO is significant and not to be dismissed. The LCBO suffers significant losses due to criminal activity every year. It's estimated that Canadian retailers lose over $4 billion a year to criminal activity, or $10.8 million a day. And then he goes on to say, since the LCBO is a Crown agency and is classified as a taxpayer-owned enterprise, their revenues help pay for healthcare, education, and other important government programs.
Sure.
So losses to the LCBO are losses to every single
compounded
resident.
losses. Sure.
What a slap in the face.
Yep.
As this guy's here as a temporary student, or a foreign student, milking the system every which way.
What kind of example does that set for, you know, other young criminals who are coming into the country? It's telling them that they can do what they want and nobody will stop them. That Canada is a lawless country that refuses to enforce its, you know, whatever laws we might have, they're not enforcing them because this guy keeps, like, listen, why, when he's arrested, are they not holding him in a cell until the border agents can get there and put him on a plane? Why isn't that happening? The whole entire system is upside down and backwards, and this does nothing to help Canadians sort of help Canadians repair their understanding of what our immigration services are supposed to do. Like, this does nothing to repair public trust in the Border Services Agency of Canada.
Yeah, or responsible immigration policy, just more broadly in the country. Meanwhile, in Nova Scotia, we have this clip here of foreign temporary, keyword here, temporary residents who say that they want to live in Canada permanently, and they're protesting the fact that they can't, I guess.
Hello everyone, it's a while ago we started a petition, this civic petition nspromise.ca, and today we have gathered here. So on this petition we have 1600 employees that have signed so far and 61 employers, and we are waiting on our files for like 2 years or more than that. So we want the transparency and fairness in the system. We are waiting for the longest time. So we are requesting the Nova Scotia government to hear us, what we are facing mentally and financial stress. So hear us and make the process fair and smoother for all of us. Thank you.
I'm sorry, did they say transparency? You're here as a foreign temporary student.
And while every Canadian looks to the government to provide services, and they're put on wait lists and given the runaround and, stonewalled and gaslit and told all of the many reasons why government can't be responsive to them. This group is like, we've been waiting 2 years and we want something done about this. 2 years. Oh, guys, get in line. Like, welcome to Canada, where nothing gets done in 10. Like, if you guys get to 10 years and nothing has happened, then you can cry on camera. But no. Like, for right now, I would just have a bus. Like, I would just pull a bus upside that, get on it, and we're going to take you guys to the airport, and then you won't have anything to complain about. See, fix it. I would fix it in less than 2 years. I'll tell you that.
I'm just wondering which part of temporary is not transparent.
Right.
Right. You're here as a temporary resident.
Yeah. But who knows what they were told? Like, I bet that they were told, right, you come in on a temporary foreign worker program visa, and then when that expires and your life is established, well, then you can pivot into some other program. I think that's probably what happened, because who would come to Canada for a 2-year slavery holiday, which is what it is, and then go home without anything? Like, who would sign up for that? I mean, what has our government promised them?
Right. Well, not only our government, but just the bad actors trying to exploit any loophole possible. And then these individuals are also, subjected to that kind of exploitation. But I mean, if you're here on a temporary visa or as a temporary student, temporary, it kind of, I think it speaks for itself. Like, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So let's take a quick ad break and then we'll come back for more.
For generations, many Canadians have preserved more than just firearms. They've preserved history, tradition, competition, memories. But under Trudeau, and now Carney, heirlooms, estates, collectibles, and competition firearms now have to be surrendered and destroyed. While violent gun criminals get pass after pass, openly ignoring any legislation, lawful gun owners are trapped in an increasingly unfair legal system. But we can help. Canada's National Firearms Association's Save Firearms program offers the legal pathway to preserve what matters, while we work towards a political solution. Don't let yours be next. Save history. Save heritage. Save firearms. Visit nfa.ca today to learn more.
Canada's been told to just quit smoking for decades, same message over and over, and yet millions of Canadians still smoke. So let's ask a follow-up question. For those who don't quit, what about change? In 2026, Canada has options that didn't exist years ago. Smoke-free alternatives for adults who would otherwise continue smoking. That doesn't mean risk-free, it means informed choice. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you smoke, quit. But for those who don't quit, change could still be part of the conversation. That's why Canadians should check out unsmoke.ca, an information resource focused on smoke-free alternatives and honest facts, not judgment. Put the lighter down, Canada. Learn what your options are.
In Canada, firearms owners like me understand the importance of safe, effective self-defense options. That's why we're proud to have Byrna as a sponsor. Byrna's less lethal launchers are designed to help protect you and your family without taking a life. Byrna offers peace of mind, accessibility, and a practical layer of personal security for Canadians who value safety. Learn more at byrna.ca/rebel. That's byrna.ca/rebel.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
Right. Next up, we have this radical woke judge in British Columbia who has dismissed an application to hear private property owners on the Cowichan case. So that, as I mentioned, is in British Columbia. Justice Barbara Young was who originally ruled on the Cowichan ruling, essentially granting title to the Cowichan tribe and having sweeping but really unknown repercussions for private property and land owners in the region who had put an application forward to try to get the court to answer that question of like, what is the legal status now of our private property? And she just dismissed that application outright. So this decision was released Monday. BC Supreme Court Justice Barbara Young said that the Richmond-based Montrose Property Holdings Company is seeking to re-examine issues in the Cowichan tribe's landmark Aboriginal title case that have already been settled. And she dismissed the application as an abuse of process.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? So you're a homeowner and you find out after the fact that the ownership of your property has been litigated without you, that you weren't allowed to participate. And then when you find out what happened and insist on having a say, they call you an abuser of the process. That's what's happened here. The rule of law here is being twisted to suit a dogs in the corner to suit this narrative that Canadians don't have title over their own property if an Aboriginal group is going to lay claim to it. And this is just going to what this is going to create is just an endless loop of court cases where people have to fight for their own property. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Why?
And the provincial government could intervene here, by the way. The BC, David Eby, and the provincial government of British Columbia could intervene here. They could use the notwithstanding clause. They could be like, you know what? Private property rights in British Columbia are not up for discussion, no matter if you have an ideologically captured judge on the other side or not. We're not going to fee simple property rights are the cornerstone of our country. If you have a deed to your property, it's yours. You can do with what you want. And yet they're turning this entire thing upside down to placate and to reconcile perceived injustices against this group. And it's completely unfair to the homeowners of BC.
Well, and they even tried to say that, oh, but it's not about private property rights. We don't actually care about the private property. It's just about laying title to, what is rightfully ours, and all under the guise of reconciliation efforts and, so on and so forth. But if it's not about private land ownership and private title, then why won't you hear that argument?
Thank you. Yes. And this is where provincial governments need to rein in the runaway judiciary who is committed to this kind of sort of Indigenous activist what's the word I'm looking for? Like litigation. Activist litigation. They could shut this down, and yet they allow it to continue. We've watched it over and over with so many other issues where the Canadian public looks to the court to have a reasonable read on something that's gone terribly, terribly awry. And in this case, you have the judge going, no, we're just going to keep being crazy. We're just going to keep being crazy and doing crazy things. Everyday Canadians' property ownership should not depend on an activist judge saying, I'm not going to hear you outright. Like, I'm just going to close my ears and ignore what you're saying. Shouldn't be.
And to be fair, there is an appeal through the courts on this ruling itself. And I just want to point out that Justice Young agreed with the lawyers for the Cowichan tribe. So like completely aligning herself with these litigious tribe activist lawyers. They argued that allowing this application specifically on private land title could open the floodgates for numerous other private landowners and persons with commercial or other interests to join the litigation. Like, yes.
Oh no, property owners would get a say? Is that what you're, we can't
We
have
need
that,
that.
can we? We have to shut those people down right away. Insane. The first
Yeah.
people that should lose their houses are the judges that make rulings like this, to be completely honest.
And I'm
and
trying
this
to find her actual ruling. There was a part in her ruling where she basically was like, I don't know what the repercussions are of my ruling, and we need she gave 18 months for the lawyers and everyone to try to figure out what this meant for land title, because she had no idea.
Shouldn't that be a prerequisite before a judge makes a ruling in this, or a justice makes a ruling in this country? You should know the ramifications of what you're about to do. And that's no solution for the private property owners who are now bound to a piece of property they can't remortgage. Okay, nobody's going to give you a mortgage or renew your mortgage on a piece of property where the ownership is being questioned by the court. It just doesn't happen. Like, no bank is going to take the risk on that. If they know that it's going to be poof gone within the term of the mortgage that you've agreed to. But this also kicks the can down the road 18 months for all of these private property owners who have no recourse because they've been told that they're abusing the process.
And so that's what they're trying to establish here, is like getting some clarity and clarification. What does this mean for our private land title? Now, this decision, the BC Supreme Court and Justice Barbara Young's decision, originally came out August 7th, 2025, and she suspended the decision for 18 months to allow for an orderly transition of the lands. So basically, this is my decision, but then you guys have 18 months to figure out what it actually means and how to implement it. And so now they're coming back to the court and saying, okay, can we establish some private property protections on this sweeping ruling? Because you've been given 18 months. Well, we're almost a year, right? It'll be 12 months in August of this year. So they need to wait. Do they really need to wait another 7 to 8 months to try to figure out what this even means? This is so incredibly irresponsible and devastating to people who are now stuck in limbo because of this ridiculous decision.
Yep. Our thoughts and prayers are with those people that are fighting this right now. We know that everything is stacked against you, but now what else are you going to do? You're going to put your whole life savings into a piece of property, into your home, and then get washed all away by a judge's ruling when she says she doesn't know what it means? No, absolutely not. We're thinking of you guys in British Columbia. It's a terrible place to live right now.
Right. Yeah, with sweeping ramifications. And if I was in British Columbia, I'd be asking, why did I pay property tax for the last X amount of years if I don't actually even own? Who's going to now repay me those massive sums of money I've paid in?
Any improvements you put into your property, how are you going to recoup? Typically the reason people aren't hesitant to put improvements into their properties is because they know eventually they're going to get that money back when they sell the property, when they upgrade, they're going to get a little bit more money out of it than they put into it. And without that guarantee, what is going to be the motivation for people to buy property in British Columbia? But maybe that's the point. Tamara Ugolini, maybe that's the point.
And they try to say that that's not the point, which is so blatantly the obvious. Is the opposite is true in this article. So about 2/3 of the way down, it says the Cowichan tribe have repeatedly stated that the action is about British Columbia and Canada taking responsibility for the historical, unlawful taking of Indigenous lands, and that they are not seeking to invalidate the land titles held by private landowners. Well, then why don't you hear this application?
That's right.
It just doesn't make any sense. If it's not actually about private land ownership.
And to be completely honest, I don't think that historical wrongs are the responsibility of modern day British Columbians to atone for. this is not, we're not passing down generational beefs and being like, your great grandma did something bad to my great grandma and now I'm going to make you pay for it. That's not how any of this works. And this is not how a healthy society works either. And we're seeing it. I mean, we see it every day here.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to another just absolute nonsense in Canada. The Globe and Mail, there's this opinion piece, letter to the editor, which now, of course, I'm having a hard time accessing, but I could get before, is basically someone complaining that they don't want cheap American milk products and they would rather pay more for their Canadian milk. And we know that, for instance, the milk cartel is alive and well here in Canada, which forces farmers who have met their quotas to dump gallons of milk at the end of every single month. I had a clip here that I wanted to share, and perhaps it's just, it was just in the comments of this X post of a farmer doing just that, dumping gallons of milk, their own hard work, obviously the fruits of their cow's labor. Right here, we can put the sound up. It's just a quick one.
Yes,
this is millions of people look at this milk running away because it's the end of the month, so I have to dump. I dump 30,000 liters of milk. It breaks my heart.
30,000 liters of milk. That's one farmer. Yes. So in a country where we have food insecurity, where what is it? Is 25% of all food banks are being overly used. The majority of the people that use those food banks are children. We have children that are hungry in this country. And yet we have perfectly good nutritional farm fresh food here, and food products being flushed down the drain to satisfy the dairy cartel. It is unreal. I just want to congratulate that person that wrote into the Globe for being in such a great financial position, like making such excellent decisions through the course of their life that they can pay $7 for a brick of butter. You know what I mean? Like, oh, good for you. I'm so delighted that you would go up to 10, for a brick of butter. But for people that are hungry, for children that are starving, they don't give a single, I was just gonna drop a swear there. I'm not gonna. They don't care. This is a gross misuse of our resources. Canada is the most blessed country in the world as it pertains to natural resources. This, of course, pertains to farms and ag products. And I would take cheap American dairy products over expensive and quality limited Canadian products any day of the week. As a matter of fact, visiting the United States and getting after their cheese and their sour creams and their milks of all kinds, it's one of my favorite things to do. And it's so cheap. It's so cheap compared to ours.
And whatever happened to just simply getting out of the way and letting the market decide, right? Just let the market decide, what do the people want, because they'll buy it and then you'll see. Like, we don't need to have all this meddling and this cartel and the government getting in the way.
Control.
Get out of the way.
Control. That's right.
Free market. Let the market decide.
Yep.
And you can see actually there's a lot of mixed opinions here in this piece. I kind of agree with the bovine growth hormone stuff, and that is not in the Canadian food. Our supply standards or our safety standards are different, and I do kind of agree with that. But if the United States wants to send their dairy products and Canadians are willing to buy it, and it's going to be cheaper and more affordable for the average Canadian facing a massive cost of living crisis, let them decide.
You gotta wonder what the dairy cartel and the government of Canada are afraid of if that happens. And I think that they're afraid of Canadians just wholesale choosing American products because their packaging is better, because their products are better, because it's cheaper to buy. The end. Like, when you're doing your grocery shop, I know that this won't resonate with any liberal or any Ottawa elite, but when you're doing your grocery shopping, you can get 30% more if you buy the cheaper product. And that's what Canadians are after right now. So I think the Conservatives would open up the competition and let Canadians decide, let the market decide. That's what capitalism does best.
Also,
and
maybe
instead, yeah, what we have is this sort of, under slave class of farmers who are being forced to produce products that will never, ever, ever make it to market. And how is that fair to them? How is
yeah,
that fair to them? Like, dairy farming is no walk in the park. Like, it is hard, grueling, everyday work. Those guys don't get a day off ever. Like, these guys don't go on vacation, because who do you call about taking care of your 300 to 400 cattle while you go to the Dominican Republic? Like, these guys don't do things like that. It is a grueling lifestyle that they live. And so to be cut off by the government, by their own government, and not able to grow or succeed, it's really quite insulting.
And maybe if we just stopped literally pouring milk down the drain, the price could come down for everyone.
Maybe.
What are we even doing?
Yeah.
Makes zero sense. Okay, so moving on, I guess this could kind of be our daily dose of cringe. This comes from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. The federal bureaucracy grew twice as fast as population that pays for it. This came out yesterday. It says taxpayers would save about $7 billion had the federal bureaucracy grown in line with population over the last decade. So that's the Liberal government, 11 years of that. This is according to analysis from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation based on recently published government data. And then they break down the numbers here. The federal government reduced its payroll by 12,683 employees.
3.5%.
Yeah, between March 2025 and March of this year. However, the government still has 86,303 more employees than it did in 2016, a 33% increase. For comparison, Canada's population grew by 15% over that same time. That is massive.
Well, you got to keep those unemployment numbers down, guys. And there's only one way to do that, and it's to hire the people into government jobs. Our government wants desperately to look like we're doing okay, right? And one of the ways they do that is by using creative math in their statistical, their statistical announcements. Great news, everybody. Unemployment is at a historic low. Look at this chart here, this fancy graphic we made. What they don't tell you is that less people are unemployed because the government has hired them into the bureaucracy. You just read that right there. What is the median? What is the median? Sorry, Olivia, can you just pull that up really quick?
The average compensation.
Yes.
Yeah,
What was
for
it? It was
a full-time federal bureaucrat is basically, let's call it what is $162,000 a year is the average full-time federal bureaucrat is paid per year. Which is where the Canadian Taxpayers Federation comes up with Canadians would save about $7 billion just this year had the bureaucracy grown in line with the population and not, 33% versus 15%.
Do you remember when Javier Milei became president and he had that wall of writings on the wall and he was like, this is getting defunded, this is getting defunded? Just take a look at that list of agencies that was just up on the screen that Olivia had there. There we go. Here we go, guys. Here's who we could literally defund. Infrastructure Canada, Women and Gender Equality Canada, RCMP, External Review, Financial Consumer Agency of Canada. I don't even know what they do. I didn't even know that they existed.
Women and Gender Equality Canada is basically the bureaucracy that tells you that you need men's tampons in the men's bathroom.
Oh yeah, these are the guys that say that men can be women by some special process, which the rest of us are unaware of. But like all of these agencies can get defunded outright. And you know what? If the people of Canada scream for their services again, then maybe consider bringing them back.
Sure.
But if I was Pierre Poilievre, I'd be in front of a cork board right now with Post-it notes on it going, defunded, 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 defunded. Then again, they would go nuts and be like, you're gonna pick on the public service employees of Canada. What are we gonna do about our 6 weeks of vacation and $200,000 a year in compensation? Get in the unemployment line like everybody else. Get in the food bank line like everybody else.
Right. Become an entrepreneur and try to
Like
survive
everybody
in Canada's economy like everybody else who's going down
everybody
to the United
else.
States because Canada sucks.
True story.
I love that just at the very end here, because I think this needs its own little, this needs its own article. But they say half of Canadians at the same time, right, that the bureaucracy is bloating twice as fast as population. They say half of Canadians say that federal services have gotten worse in that same time, according
Obviously.
to a Leger poll.
I bet that half actually works there.
Most Canadians support cutting the size and cost of the bureaucracy, according to that same poll. So the bureaucracy is bloating at 2 times the rate of the population. And meanwhile, all of your services are getting worse. And most Canadians say, what is going on here? We need to just cut these bureaucracies anyway. I mean, look at the
Truly.
CRA. What a failed department that is.
Bro, that's tried to get a passport. Has anybody here tried to get a passport recently? Like, what an
Good luck.
absolute nightmare scenario. But it is like a failure of complete accountability in the bureaucracy, where the buck stops with no one and you just get shuffled off to somebody else. Like, nobody ever does the job they're meant to do. It's wild.
Yeah. All right. With that, I think we've hit all the headliners and a little bit of cringe. No one told us what they were doing for Canada Day. So if you are celebrating, have a great day tomorrow. We won't have a stream because of the holiday. So we'll be off enjoying our time, whether it's as a separatist or in the new country or enjoying a waterfront festival in the old country. So however you're celebrating, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. We will be back on Thursday, same time and place, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. So come back then. And happy Canada Day for anybody celebrating until that time. Stay sane and question everything.
You know, folks, in my many years of reporting for Rebel News, I've covered corrupt politicians, rogue bureaucrats, and even parking enforcement officers who'd rather take a nap than write some tickets. But I have to say, this is a first. Apparently, I'm now available as a gift. Rebel News has launched something we're calling shoutouts. Here's the idea. You pick your favorite Rebel News journalist, maybe that's yours truly, or maybe it's someone else, that's okay. I won't take it personally. You tell us who the message is for, what the occasion is, and any details that'll make it feel personal. A name, an inside joke, a few things we should know about them. The more info you give us, the better the video. We'll record a selfie-style video and deliver it straight to your inbox within 3 business days. Birthdays, graduations, anniversaries, retirements, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, you name it. Messages are available in 30, 60, and 90-second increments, starting at just $100. Need it fast? Add 24-hour rush delivery for an extra $50. And every dollar you spend goes directly toward supporting Rebel News and our independent journalism. No government bailouts here, no corporate strings, just Canadians helping Canadians to keep telling the truth. Give the gift no one saw coming. Visit rebelnews.com/shoutouts. That's rebelnews.com/shoutouts to make your request today. I will be waiting.